Are you thinking about asking an economist out for coffee, but can't for the life of you figure out an appropriate conversation starter? Well, the age-old debate of capitalism versus socialism could work perfectly, but only if you understand what these two systems are about and how they affect the economy of a country and its social structure. That is what today's video is all about. Some of the questions we attempt to answer are: is capitalism as evil as it's been peddled to be? Will socialism solve all our problems? What is pragmatic capitalism? Stick around and we just might get you that second date. A society is made up of some fundamental pillars. There's trade, which is the exchange of goods and services for money, or in the case of barter trade, for other goods and services, as needed in the economy, such as maybe trading corn for meat, as an example. In order to meet demand, capital goods are used to provide these products. An example of capital goods are the equipment and the human labor needed in a company that prints notebooks. Most societies appreciate and acknowledge the need for an education, whether formal or informal. Education is meant to equip the coming generation with the skills needed to survive in the environment they're growing up in. The systems of capitalism and socialism present different ways in which a society can be arranged, so as to meet the needs of the individuals who live in it. The main distinguishing factor between these two systems is in the entity that has control over the major means of production. My friend Chad's favorite breakfast is egg toast. The two main ingredients he needs to start his day with a smile are eggs and bread. There are different ways through which his bread and eggs get to him. In a capitalist society, a local farmer who owns 300 chickens and employs 2 farmhands supplies the eggs. The bread is transported to the grocery store from the state capital, where the national bread supplier is headquartered. It is at this grocery store that Chad gets his ingredients. As you can see here, the major means of production are owned by private individuals, the farmer and the shareholders of the company, who are the public citizens. These individuals aim to make a profit for their own personal gains, like the farmer who's saving up for his child's college education, and the shareholders of the bread company, who want to receive dividends at the end of the year. These private means of production are also the source of most of the country's employment. The farmer employs 2 hands to help him manage all those chickens. On the other hand, the bread company employs a driver, chefs, accountants, a CEO, among others. These employees depend on the bread company for their economic livelihoods. In socialist societies, the government is the major employer and owns the main means of production. While in communist societies, these are owned collectively by the people in the society, as there's no employer. We will get to these in a bit. A common trait in capitalistic societies is high inequality in income distribution. The people who own the means of production get more value for their efforts and time than those who work under them. For instance, the farmer and his hands may put in the same amount of time in rearing the chicken, but the farmer earns more for his time than his hands. The same can be said of a driver working for the bread company, compared to the biggest shareholder, who owns 43% of the company. Education also plays a big part in income distribution. The more educated earn more money, as they have highly marketable skills. And since quality education in capitalistic societies are mainly in private institutions, which are often expensive for all, just look at the farmer who's saving up for his kids' fees. Only a few are able to afford it. Thus, the people who have lower incomes are also unable to get the highly marketable skills. All these factors and more contribute to the huge wealth gap between the rich and the poor. Just look at the United States. The top 7% of the country's citizens owns about 80% of America's wealth. To learn more about this wealth gap, watch our video on the growing wealth inequality in the world and America. The link is in the description below. This high inequality between the rich and the poor is one of the main reasons that critics of capitalism point out. The wealth of the rich is growing more by the day, only to later be inherited by their children and then their children's children. Imagine if the wealth of a company worth billions is growing at a rate higher than the GDP of a country. How much will it be worth after several generations? How would it compare to the bigger economy? In capitalistic society, the prices of goods and services that are circulating in the economy are a factor in their cost of production and consumption habits. High price of goods is often due to high cost of production and high demand. For instance, if more people start buying the bread from the national supplier, the company may raise its prices to enjoy more profit. Chad, however, likes his bread cheap, and when this happens, he may decide to switch to a local bakery or start his own bread business to fight the corporation. This is the economic freedom that is enjoyed by capitalist societies. There's an ease of doing business. As long as you have an idea and the means to fund it, and it's legal, no one will stop you. Consumers also enjoy a variety of goods and services at varying prices, which is why Chad could easily switch his bread guy from the national supplier to the local bakery. Capitalism fosters innovation, because businesses are always looking for ways to cut down costs and increase sales. New technological inventions also aid in increasing the quality of the product being manufactured, though it's likely that the aim would be to outsell their competitors. Quality is a good selling point, but only if it's something that the consumer wants. Finally, when the economy is under stress, capitalist economies react differently from socialist ones. In socialistic societies, the government attempts to buffer its citizens during bad economic times through massive employment, even if the pay is not equivalent to the amount of work that these workers are doing. Capitalist economics self-regulate unless the government steps in. Self-regulation means that companies will lay off people and take other measures to cut down costs, and this leads to massive unemployment. Now, let's see what a socialist society looks like. The main aim of socialism is to foster equality among members of its citizens. The social and institutional structure of this society is very different from a capitalistic society, in that the major means of production are owned by the government. For instance, there may be a single corporation that produces a bulk of the clothes that are consumed by the country's citizens. This corporation would be owned by the government, which then employs the individuals that are working there, making them the employer and controller of capital. Private individuals can start and run businesses in this system. However, they will face difficulties in setting up due to stringent regulations and high taxes that are meant to discourage new enterprises. Due to the government being the biggest employer, the socialist government is able to do massive employment during economic hardships. They do this to foster equality in income among all the members of the society. This equality is further fostered by providing its citizens with free healthcare and education. The main disadvantage of socialist countries is that it makes them susceptible to authoritarians who are unwilling to let go of power. This is because all economic and social power is concentrated in one place, making it easy to control a whole country. However, most countries do not have a completely socialist or capitalist society. Even self-declared socialist countries like Venezuela have capitalist elements. Similarly, there is some aspect of socialism in a strongly capitalist country, like the United States. As great as socialism sounds, capitalism fosters technological inventions, and it's a fact that people genuinely work harder when they know they are directly benefiting. Socialism in capitalist economics is usually intended to counter the inequality effect. For instance, free education and universal healthcare. My hope is that you have enjoyed this economy crash course on socialism and capitalism, and that you're more knowledgeable because you watched it. Talk to us about it in the comments section below. Till next week!